I just heard. How do you know Arionne?
I don't know Arionne. Hell no.
Tricia mentioned that she said that you knew Arionne. And I'm like, okay, but no, so that's good. So ain't nothing else to go forward with that.
Hey, listen, I'm one of the realest mugs you're gonna meet. If I knew her, bro, I would tell you, and if you wanted the details, I'd give you that.
That's a real dude right there. And everybody ain't real like that, so that's what's up.
You won't believe what we are going to reveal today. By the end of this story, you will see Martell Holt, his longtime mistress Arionne Curry, and his mother, Marlene Holt, in a completely different light. So I encourage you to stay with me until the very end because every moment matters. This is one of those stories that may seem simple at first, but once you hear what Marlene said, everything changes. So grab a seat, maybe even some snacks, because this ride is going to get emotional. Recently, Martell Holt's mother shocked everyone close to the family with a truth that cut deeper than any insult. She didn't scream, she didn't drag anyone publicly in a messy way. Instead, she did something even more powerful. She spoke with honesty, calmness, and conviction. And when a mother speaks from the heart, especially about her son and the woman tied to him, it forces everyone to listen. Marlene Holt has always been the quiet observer in Martell's stormy life. She's defended him when the world tore him down, stood by him even when his choices were questionable, and shielded him from the worst of public judgment. But this time was different. This time, she looked at the reality of the situation and admitted something that even fans had whispered for years. Arionne Curry, instead of being a source of growth, had only brought idleness and chaos into her son's life. And that one word, idleness, hit like a hammer. Because it wasn't just an insult. It was a verdict. Think about it. For over a decade, Arionne has been at the center of Martell's downfall. She wasn't just the mistress in the shadows, she was the woman who played a part in breaking a family, the one who stood by as Martell risked everything. And now, after years of defending him, Marlene has decided she can no longer protect the choices that dragged her family into scandal. But let's take a step back, because to really understand the weight of Marlene's words, we need to revisit how all of this began. Martell Holt wasn't always painted as the villain. Once upon a time, he was seen as a man with it all, a successful businessman, a reality TV star, a husband, and most importantly, a father to 4 beautiful children. On Love and Marriage, Huntsville, fans saw the picture-perfect family he built with Melody Sherry. From the outside, it looked like a dream. They had the house, the business, the fame, and the love. But behind closed doors, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. That's where Arionne Curry entered the picture. She wasn't just a fling. She was the other woman who turned into a long-term affair, lasting over 10 years. Through those years, Melody's pain became public, fans were split down the middle, and Martell's reputation slowly crumbled. Now, Arionne didn't stay quiet either. She jumped online, clapped back at fans, defended her role, and even tried to paint herself as more than just the side chick. But here's the truth: no matter how loud she was on social media, she couldn't drown out the reality of what people saw, a woman who gave her time and energy to a man who was never fully hers. And that's where Marlene's frustration comes in. For years, she watched this play out. She watched her son lose his marriage. She watched her grandchildren suffer through a broken home. She watched fans criticize Martell day after day. And yet, she kept quiet, biting her tongue, trying not to add fuel to the fire. But now, she's had enough. When Marlene described Arionne as idle, she wasn't just talking about laziness in the physical sense. She was calling out the lack of growth, the lack of purpose, the lack of stability that Arionne has brought into Martell's life. Instead of pushing him to be better, instead of helping him rebuild, she allowed the chaos to continue. She stood by while Martell burned bridges, lost respect, and dragged his family name through the mud. And here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because Marlene didn't stop there. She went further, comparing Arionne to Melody, the ex-wife who, despite all the heartbreak, kept the family name intact. Melody wasn't perfect, but she was strong. She held things together when Martell was falling apart. She gave her children stability. She built businesses. She worked tirelessly, not just for herself, but for her family's legacy. And in that comparison, Marlene's disappointment in Arionne was clear. She wasn't speaking out of jealousy, hate, or spite. She was speaking as a mother who had seen both sides, one woman who fought to keep everything together, and another who sat by and watched as it all unraveled. Think about how painful that must be for Arionne to hear. It's one thing to be criticized by fans, bloggers, or even by Melody herself. But when the mother of the man you've loved for over a decade says you brought nothing but idleness? That cuts differently. That kind of judgment doesn't just roll off your back. It lingers. And let's not forget Marlene loves her grandson Maverick, the child Martell fathered with Arionne. Her love for that boy is undeniable. But at the same time, she can't ignore the choices that led to his birth, choices that shattered her son's marriage and reputation. Every time she looks at Maverick, she feels both love and sorrow. And that's what makes this story so tragic. But here's the twist. While Marlene was slamming Arionne for her idleness, fans began to notice something else. Marlene was also holding Martell accountable. She wasn't letting him off the hook either. By pointing out Arionne's lack of stability, she was indirectly pointing out her son's weakness, his inability to walk away from a relationship that dragged him down. And that's where things get even more complicated. Because now, the spotlight isn't just on Arionne. It's on Martell too. For years, fans accused Marlene of enabling her son, of making excuses for him, of letting him get away with too much. But now, she's speaking differently. She's tired. She's disappointed. And she wants her son to finally wake up. This moment is powerful because it shows a shift in Marlene's role. She's no longer the protective mother covering for her son's mistakes. She's the truth teller, the one voicing what fans, friends, and even cast members have been saying all along. And the emotional impact of her words? Huge. For Arionne, it's a public rejection from the one person whose approval might have softened the criticism. For Martell, it's a wake-up call from the woman who knows him best. And for Melody, it's a quiet moment of validation. Because after everything she endured, hearing Marlene finally acknowledge the difference between her and Arionne is confirmation that her struggle was never in vain. So the question now becomes, where does this leave Martell and Arionne? Can a relationship survive when the family openly disapproves? Can love survive when it's labeled as chaos instead of stability? Or has Marlene's truth marked the beginning of the end? That's the part we all need to watch closely. Because whether Martell admits it or not, his mother's words carry weight. And when your own mother says enough is enough, you can't hide behind excuses anymore. Marlene Holt didn't just call out Arionne. She sent a message to her son and to everyone watching: stability matters, purpose matters, and idleness has no place in a family's legacy. And maybe, just maybe, her words will be the push Martell needs to finally change. Or maybe they'll be the words that push Arionne to step back and realize that after 10 years, the woman she thought she was in his life never truly had a place in his family. Either way, the damage has been done. The truth is out. And nothing will ever be the same again. So family, let me leave you with this thought: when a mother speaks, the world listens. And in this case, Marlene Holt's truth may be the final nail in the coffin for Martell and Arionne's story. The question is, will Martell finally listen? Or will he let idleness keep defining his future? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: Marlene has spoken, and her words cannot be taken back. And here's where we leave things, family. Marlene Holt's words are not just a casual opinion, they are the truth of a mother who has watched her son throw away everything he once had. When she called out Arionne Curry for her idleness, it wasn't just shade. It was a warning. A reminder that wasting years in drama, instead of building stability, always leads to heartbreak. For Arionne, those words sting more than anything fans could ever say. Because if Martell's own mother doesn't see value in her presence, where does that leave her? For Martell, this is a turning point. He can either keep defending a relationship that has brought nothing but chaos, or he can finally step back and take responsibility. And for Melody, it's a quiet victory. She doesn't have to say a word. Marlene has already spoken the truth the world needed to hear. So the question remains: will Martell listen? Will Arionne prove everyone wrong? Or will Marlene's words be the final echo that exposes the truth once and for all? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, once a mother speaks, you cannot unhear it.